at that. Cool. All right. Hey, before we launch into my beautiful but beefy deck that has lots of great images of wolves and people in it, just want to introduce myself. My name is Philip Folsom. Everybody, except for some of our UK people, know me, but just to review, I'm an anthropologist, an Army veteran, and author. And my life purpose is to reintroduce our very ancient and necessary kinship systems in the world, because that form of culture is the operating system of our people, whether it's your families or your work teams. And a poor culture, a poor operating system leads to poor results. It leads to degraded resiliency and emotional, mental, physical vitality. And it also degrades all of our outward facing success. And a high performing operating system or culture is the most effective driver of our resiliency and our sustainable success. It's the big lever that moves everything in humanity. And it's basically the collective set of beliefs and behaviors that we all agree are the norms of our tribe. So that focus on culture is the culmination of about 30 years of doing leadership work and embedded with large organizations, nonprofits, school districts, and that North Star, that holy grail of elevating your cultural operating system is the bulletproof, time-tested thing that will get all of us the big results we need. And everything I'm going to share today, which is directed in a professional sense. We're going to use professional language, focusing on work teams, organizations, leadership, but it is equally valuable with our families, because our families are our tribes, as well as our work teams are our tribes. And that focus on work has been neglected in our current culture. And we spend more of our waking hours with our work teams than we do with anyone else and anywhere else and doing anything else in our life. So that focus on making sure that the people we work with, improving their relationships, improving the accountability, improving our resiliency, our sense of belonging, driven by alignment, that is an incredibly important aspect of our life. It's where we spend most of our time. So it is this talk is going to be focused on how to create those intrinsically motivated, self-directed members of your tribe that will help you with your adaptability, your scaling, your pursuit of belonging, adaptability, freedom, and meaning. So these are inherently human pursuits. This is the great quest. And like I do with all of my workshops, whether these are in person or I'm doing executive coaching or keynotes, or I really encourage people to take notes, because it's pretty easy. In fact, we've been drilled in our immediate gratification culture to just sit back and absorb and be entertained. And it's passive. And therefore, we very quickly tend to flush whatever that new information is. When we take notes, it's intentional, it's experiential. And note-taking is a just universally robust experience. We have a number of authors on this call already. And the act of writing is the act of thinking. It is also the act of creation. In most of our shared spiritual systems, the universe is created through the word. So I really want to encourage you to take some notes today. I'm going to be sharing a couple big maps. So give yourself permission to do some graphics on these pages. And the things that I think are particularly valuable I'll stress those in terms of write this down. And that way you'll be able to take the treasure from this experience and convey that into the places where it's most valuable, which is your people. All right. Okay, the four wolf wisdoms. These are also the four stages and the series of culture creation. These are the pillars that hold up an engaged, self directed, high performing team. And I'm going to use the word wolf and pack almost synonymously with human and tribe because our species has been in a very intimate and intertwined journey together for 35,000 years. That experience that we had connecting with our first animal ally directly coincided with what's known as our cognitive revolution. This is the point in human history where we transitioned and transformed from a non-innovative, very low-level scavenger to the apex predator, innovative species that we are today. So the things that we learned from the wolf were absolutely a transformational experience for humanity in general. And so that model of looking at a wolf pack and how it operates is a very good template for reclaiming our kinship systems, our honor-based culture, healthy conflict, how well they work together, how well that they are able to adapt to different environments and different prey. So these four wolf wisdoms are going to be the sequential steps on how to build your resilient and high performing team at home and at work. An example of that congruence of human and wolf is the term Ubuntu. That's a very old African term. And this is a picture of me with some Maasai warriors. The figure second from the left is the first female game driver that they ever had in the Maasai Nation. And so she was part of this trip that I was on. And at this moment with the Maasai history, they were going through a pretty radical exploration around what their culture was. One of the traditions in Maasai culture is that young men had to kill a lion with a spear to become a full man. And they were discovering that they were losing too many lions. So they were able to gather the tribes together and they were able to have an adaptability conversation of, is there another way that we can initiate men into the fullness of manhood within the tribe without doing that? Are we allowed to have female game drivers? And the reason why they were so adaptable, in my experience with them, is that they had an intact culture. They had a balance between tradition and innovation. And that is a tension that creates tremendous success. Tradition, that is the string of the kite that holds us stable. Innovation and adaptability is the sail of the kite that powers it. And we can only adapt, evolve, transform if we have that cohesive culture to work from. And it's one of the reasons that when I look at our political landscape today, we see such divisiveness, is that we've lost our foundation of alignment. And that's one of the things we're going to lead to. So in Africa, Ubuntu means I am because we are, and we are because I am. It speaks to the two big sides of culture. Culture are a collection of individuals that have their own needs for status, belonging, freedom, meaning, expression. But the we are is the collective. This is the tribe. This is your family and your work team. And we have lost that component. The wolf version of that is for the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. Again, we have the individual and we have the collective. Both of those needs need to be met within your family and your work team. And that's where we're headed towards, is the type of cultural operating system that provides that. Welcome to Wolf Wisdom. Now, I've been reflecting a lot on AI, and before this meeting started, we had a conversation about AI in this webinar. We have AI agents recording and watching, and so AI is this big tidal wave that we see incoming that's going to completely demolish all of our cultural structures and norms, and that is not the first time this has happened in humanity. It's the printing press. It's the internet. There's always been something that has come in and threatened the collective nature of humanity. And I want to put that in perspective and give you a frame on this that has been very useful for me and a lot of clients this last year. What business is, what your family is, what your community is simply an individual, this is you, partnering intimately with a small group of people. This is your team that is there to serve a larger group of people. It's all about people. It will always be about people. Yes, we deal with strategy. Yes, we deal with technology. Yes, we deal with a lot of other distractions in our lives, but it comes down to people. How well do you know yourself? How well do you understand your vision, your values, your pre-trauma, your resiliency issues, your personality, your psychology? And the better you are at understanding yourself as a leader, as the center of your tribe, will directly affect how cohesive, how resilient, how successful your tribe is. And that tribal cultural operating system will directly affect how well you serve all of the people, whether they be your community or your clients. So it's all about people. And the journey we're going to take is going to be about you, and it's going to be about your tribe. And each one of these circular rings has a map. In fact, just showing you this graphic is providing you a visual representation of a very complex idea. So we're going to be talking about one big map today, and that is the tribe triangle or the pack pyramid. It's going to be the synonymous terms. And this is the 4 sequential steps to build your honor-based culture, your kinship system. Okay. So if you wanted to take a little note of what this little graph, because it, for me and for a lot of other executive folks that I work with, this is very clarifying. I need to address myself because it directly affects my people, and that infrastructure directly affects how well I'm going to serve the larger group of clients or community. So I hope this map was valuable. It's going to allow us to navigate the next map. All right. So this is the pack pyramid or the tribe triangle. It is a hierarchical model, which means there are certain things that must be addressed before other things can be achieved. And for most of us, when we reflect back to high school, we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the very top of Maslow's and his initial hierarchy was self-actualization. That meant that you were fulfilled, you had a certain amount of freedom in your life, autonomy, sovereignty. And the very bottom of Maslow is we're looking at basic human needs, safety. And we cannot achieve the higher levels unless the lower levels are met. So, for example, when people are activated, triggered, they don't have resiliency, they're worried about shelter, food, a bunch of core human requirements, we're unable to move towards self-actualization. So this tribe triangle functions in a very similar way. A good note for this is Maslow actually changed his pyramid later in his life because he realized that self-actualization is not the end of the journey. And I loved it when I first read that, because in anthropology, there's always a level above self. And that level is called perpetuation of culture. And that is the highest function of any team or tribe, is that we have to hold our traditions and we have to innovate when appropriate. So Maslow got on board with that too when he talked about what the end goal of humanity is later in his life. So the foundation of both human and wolf culture is alignment. This is where everything starts. And one of the big mistakes that leaders, whether they be of a family or a work team, is what we want is competitive success. We want innovation. We want accountability. We want engagement. Like, we want all the things that in business we call profit drivers. These are the big levers of success that are measurable and they feel good and they're exciting. And so we oftentimes jump right up to the third level of culture. And it's unsustainable because we cannot achieve competitive success unless we have the foundation below it that provides trust and safety and the ability to engage with risk. So we have to start at the bottom. And in any culture, whether this be a sports team or a nonprofit or some of the big guns that I work with, Apple and Red Bull and Disney and SpaceX and all, like, all the successful teams have rock solid foundations. And so we're going to go over that first. This is important to take some notes on. The foundation of alignment is, number one, why does your team or tribe exist? And it's a philosophical question. It's a practical question. And why is your shared vision? That answers the question. All journeys start with the why. And the quote from Napoleon that says, "Leaders are dealers in hope," is a very good exploration of that topic. A shared vision should be aspirational. It should be inspirational. And both those words have the word spirit, something divine, something exalted, something rare, something almost unachievable. And so as a leader of your family or work team, that's your primary role, is what is the vision that I have for us in the future? And that vision should benefit every single person on your team. It should also benefit the clients and the community that you serve. And it should also benefit you. So it is something that is cohesive and optimistic and future centric, and it does not have to be realistic. And two examples that I use of that are the vision statement of Disney is the happiest or most magical place on earth. It's not realistic. It's not particularly practical. It is aspirational. And they built an entire brand on that concept. And as parents, we will spend an incredible amount of money for our kids to experience magic and happiness. So that's an example of a functional vision statement. Another one that was very loud for me is when I look at the Marines. That is a very traditional, structured, and very successful legacy of a brand. And their vision statement is Semper Fidelis, which means always faithful. What that includes when they say always faithful is we will never leave a Marine behind. We will never retreat. We will never surrender. Again, unrealistic? Yes. Inspiring, aspirational? Absolutely. And it's one of the things that has created the dynasty of both of those organizations. So your shared vision, This is the North Star that you navigate your journeys off of. It's the lighthouse in the dark, and it inspires us and it guides us and it protects us, particularly when things get uncertain and challenging. And this is one of those eras. This is you and your team's purpose. Okay. So that's the first order of business. And you can always refer back to that when I'm coaching people about giving and receiving effective feedback or running effective meetings. You almost always want to work in some connection to your vision because it's the big gun. It's really the meaning behind why you gather. Right? And I like to think of people who intentionally join organizations or teams or clubs or communities. They're like a, a freelance knight or a wandering ronin who's looking for community, and they're offering their sword to something that's exalted. And that should be something significant for you. If you have an aspirational vision statement, then you will attract better people. So that's a lot of leadership work right there. It's the secret to the success of SpaceX is that they have an exalted vision statement. And the best engineers in the world will go there knowing that they have no HR department, no employee handbook, very little structure. They're following vision. So make some notes on that as a to-do work. This is something that I do with all of my corporate clients, and it's something that my wife Tanya and I do with our family. And I'll share with you our vision statement for this year. It is to live life so well that it serves as an example of what is possible. And that came from my wife Tanya, who's on this call. So that's the why. The second component of your foundation of alignment is, well, how do we conduct ourselves in a manner that moves us towards that aspirational vision? This is decision making. This is action taking. And this is your shared values. Values literally drive the decision making of people. And in economics, they have a term that people will always make their best decisions. Oftentimes, those may be very immediate gratification, adolescent psychology, coping based decisions. But at that moment, it's their best decision. Your job is to provide them with something that is more exalted, something that is, again, more directed to that aspirational end goal that leads to freedom and meaning and abundance. So shared values. This is an important one. This is the norms of your tribe. Shared values, they drive the decision making and action taking of your people and projects. And the process of going through your values clarification is an entire workshop unto itself. But I recommend people come up with your top 3 core values. 3 is a good number for people, and we can generally remember 3. A lot of times when I'm working with a client, I'll look on their website first and look at the About Us page. And a lot of times they'll have a whole paragraph of values. And if we have too many values, we experience decision fatigue and we have none. And we revert back to our own values instead of that collective team values. So the top 3 is great. And one of the corporate clients I'm working with right now, their top 3 core values are team first. That's this conversation. Radical transparency, which means honest, authentic, immediate. It's clear, concise, all of that. And then just solutions. No complaining, no resentments. There's what are your solutions to this problem? And those 3 values, I can kind of honestly say have transformed their culture. So that is a big question for both your family and your work team. You want to get together and get a lot of clarity around your values clarification. All right. And the third and last big component of your foundation of alignment is what? What are we doing? And this is obviously a very important one. These are your shared missions. These are your pack hunts. And one of the biggest uh, challenges that corporations have is, how do I break down silos? How do I create accountability? How do I create people asking for help? How do I, that collective thing? And it would seem like this is the greatest strength of humanity, and it is. However, almost all organizations struggle with it. And it seems to me that 20 years of scholastic indoctrination about doing your own work, keep your eyes on your own paper, take your own test, probably has a lot to do with our isolation driven, siloed behavior. You, as a leader, you're going to have to undo a lot of that mindset around individualistic thinking. Because when you look at wolves, a lone wolf is not scary, it's not significant, it's not safe, it's not successful. A pack of wolves is the most significant, safe, successful entity on the planet. Humans are the same. You, as an individual lone wolf attempting to make a dent in the universe, will be dismissed. You and your tribe are almost unstoppable. So that shared mission piece is more significant than it may seem from the outside. Sharing your challenges generates two vital things. Number one, collaboration. Okay, we are tremendous when we are part of an aligned team. We get to benefit from all the differences that we have, whether they're psychological or historical or experiential. We bring so much to bear that is alchemic. It's greater than the sum of its parts. So that collaboration is a big one. On the other side, the bookend of collaboration is celebration. We also receive all of the value that we get psychologically, socially, when we're able to do shared missions. And in business, we call that your second paycheck. Your second paycheck is the sense of belonging and appreciation and status and meaning that we get when we contribute to something. And that's incredibly important for human beings. And all of this leads to you as the leader of your family or your work team. I encourage you to put head of culture above everything in your org chart or your job description. You are the head of culture. How well you generate and hold your vision, how well you model the shared values of your tribe, and how well you collaborate and how well you celebrate is going to be the primary driver of all of these things. And your people are looking to you for that. And it's a heavy burden, but as a leader, that's what we signed up to do. So a celebration or that second paycheck is something you have an unlimited bank account of. You have to remember to give it. And it transforms everything. When your people have a shared vision, values, and missions, it makes them feel aligned and it creates affiliation, which means belonging. And this is the next level of our pack pyramid or tribe triangle. Belonging is another way of saying kinship. Kin of common origin, which means we all have a shared vision, values, and missions. Kinship is the number one driver of belonging and resiliency. And we could spend another hour talking about all the anxiety, depression, distraction, all of the mental and emotional issues that are so prevalent. And they are a tremendous draw off of your productivity. So the resiliency and the psychological well-being of your people is primarily solved through a sense of belonging. It is the number one driver of dealing with depression, anxiety, addiction, that sense of belonging. So that kinship system directly addresses that. Secondly, it drives engagement and retention. These are two giant issues in the corporate world. Currently, American corporate culture is running under 17% full engagement. And that's a catastrophe. It means that most of our people are delivering just enough to not get in trouble. They are holding their passion, they're holding their commitment, they're holding their risk taking because it's not worth it yet. And that affects your bottom line. So engagement is a big one. Retention, equally large. If your people don't have that sense of belonging and affiliation, then they're waiting to find some place that they do. So this cultural kinship system and sense of belonging is more impactful than you may realize. Lastly, that sense of kinship and belonging is what drives trust and safety. And this is a big one. Trust and safety is the ability, that sense of security that empowers your people to take risks, which is everything else on this tribe triangle and everything that makes you competitive, successful, innovative, all the stuff that you want as a leader with your family and work team needs to be built off of this foundation. And an example of this is the concept of broken bones. And I want to share this because it has to do with wolves and humans, and it's very interesting. A famous anthropologist named Margaret Mead was asked at a conference, what is the earliest example of human culture? And everyone there expected her to answer pottery or controlled use of fire, and her answer was healed, broken bones. And it's a profound answer because every animal in the world, if they break their leg, they die. Predation, starvation, exposure. And the only outliers in this statement are wolves and humans. Almost universally, when we find a skeleton of a wolf or a human, it has a healed broken bone. And what that implies is that there was other humans and other wolves that were willing to sacrifice their freedom, their mobility, their comfort, their resources, their safety to take care of this one injured entity. That's what enables the entire culture to take risks, is that you know you're not going to be abandoned. You know that you're not going to be left alone to die. And so how that relates to us is important. And this is an example of a Paleolithic man. This is the skeleton of a man. And he has he's missing an arm, healed, many broken ribs, healed, a shattered hip, healed, and broken orbitals, healed. So this was some catastrophic event that this ancient ancestor experienced, and his tribe took care of him. The next two pictures are wolves from Yellowstone in the Lamar Valley. And almost universally, wolves they find there have broken jaws and broken front legs, healed. So the evidence is irrefutable, how important it is if you want to have a competitive, happy hunting culture. That leads to healthy conflict. When we have the trust and the safety that we can take risks and we can rely on our tribe. So we are currently not facing starvation or predation or death by exposure. Our risks are different. Our risks are psychological, they're professional, they're social, there are a bunch of other risks that our era is experiencing. And they're equally important and they're equally solved with that trust and safety of kinship. And if we want to have success with our teams, we have to be able to engage with healthy conflict. Okay. Everything that is competitive and growth oriented has some form of conflict or risk. Innovation. This is another very common request I get from corporate clients. How do we create a culture of innovation? And I respond by saying, is it safe enough to fail in your culture? And they're like, oh no, we don't ever want to fail. We just want innovation. And that's the problem. Innovation is inherently creative. It is disruptive and it involves failure. That comes along with it. If we want people to be able to take those risks of trying something new, there will oftentimes be failure. So if you don't have that level of to absorb setbacks, you will not reap the benefits of innovation. And in our era, with the pace of change, this is necessary in culture today. And I'd like to share one of the core values from another client that directly addresses this. And I'll say it twice if you want to write it down. We have an incredibly high tolerance for non-repetitive mistakes made in the pursuit of excellence. We have an incredibly high tolerance for non-repetitive mistakes made in the pursuit of excellence. So that is a encoded on the wall in the employee handbook example of a cultural norm that is intentionally crafted to drive risk-taking and innovation. So be thinking about that as you're creating the magical alchemy of your culture. Leadership and decision-making. These are also conflict-based things. To be able to lead is to decide. Decide has the same root as the word homicide and insecticide. It means to cut or kill. And if you want your people to be intrinsically motivated, autonomous, self-directed, hard-charging people, they're going to make decisions. They're going to cut and kill. They're going to say no to the things that they say yes to. So sometimes they will be wrong. That comes along with leadership. And if you cannot absorb that and learn from it and fail forward, then people will simply pull back, become disengaged, and not put themselves at the risk of being, I was the one to make the decision. They will not own their projects. Giving and receiving critical feedback. This is also a profit driver function. It's the ability to hold people accountable for what they said they're going to do and when they're going to do it. And again, there's emotional blowback that regularly happens when you give somebody some critical feedback. I oftentimes ask people, can I care more about your future right now than your feelings? Feelings are hurt. We're human beings. We have a deep sense of inadequacy and abandonment. And critical feedback is hard. I don't know anybody who likes it. And that's what's required when we're giving coaching, when we're mentoring, when we're holding people accountable. And again, this incredibly valuable behavior and norm can only be built on that solid foundation of trust, safety, kinship, belonging, which can only be created on top of alignment. So these are all the profit drivers of your organization. And when you have those in place, you have the ability to reach the very apex of the PAC pyramid, which is sustainable success. This would be perpetuation of culture in anthropology. Adapt to thrive. So Perpetuation of culture is your legacy. It is what you are leaving behind as meaning and purpose, the dynasty you create, the dent that you make in the universe. And that perpetuation of culture is that delicate harmony between tradition and innovation. It's also the acknowledgement that things take time. We are not ambush predators. We are persistence hunters. We pick goals in the future, sometimes generationally in the future. And they're long-term goals. These are big game hunts. We have to intentionally choose the thing that we're hunting. We have to gather our pack and we have to strategize, and then we have to run it down over hours, sometimes days, weeks, months, even years. So persistence hunting takes a tremendous amount of a recommitment. The act of recommitting, revitalizing, is inherent to the act of commitment. All systems tend towards entropy. Everyone gets tired. We all risk burnout. So part of the job of a successful culture is that recommitment process. People need to be reminded more often than they need to be taught. So we often like to think of, I have taught my people what they need to know, and it's done. And I want to propose that that is an ongoing process. We have to continually sharpen the saw, recommit, and remind our people about the journey. And that is the process of doing it for yourself first. We're the center. We're the head of culture. And then lastly, it's creating the next generation of leaders. These are the people that are intrinsically motivated. They are self-directed. They are the ones that will carry your legacy into the future. And if you haven't created these people, then you can never scale. You can never disengage from the projects and the process and the journey. It will always be on you. Very common challenge with founders is that they cannot scale without them being involved in everything. So there's a wonderful another map that we won't go into. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix. It's a 4x4 grid, and it's about urgent and important. And so oftentimes as leaders, we get pulled into things that are urgent and important. We're there putting out fires, and we're there micromanaging and driving every aspect of the project. The most valuable position is important, but not urgent. It's the difference between managing and leading. And to be a leader is that you have created your next generation. They are the ones that you can delegate to. And one of my favorite examples of this that comes from the military, and one of the board interviews from second to first lieutenant involves entering into a room where they put a bunch of resources on the board of how to put up a flagpole. And you have cement, shovels, 10 privates, 1 sergeant, here's the flagpole, guidelines, all those things. And the question is to this young officer, Lieutenant, what is your first order? And the common answer is, I research flagpole erection. I do a soil analysis. I train my people. The answer is, Sergeant, put up the flagpole, and then you walk away and do officer things. And I love that, because that story speaks directly to this next generation of leaders. If you do not have people that you can delegate projects to, then you will be forever pulled into the fire brigade of micromanagement. So creating that next generation, which is ultimately your legacy in the world, involves creating people who understand purpose and hold mastery. Purpose and mastery. These are the two components for self-directed, autonomous leaders. Purpose is all of the things that we talked about with that foundation of alignment. This is your vision. This is your values. This is the importance of what we're doing in the world. And having people that fully buy into that at the same level that you are, maybe even more, that's purpose. Those people are rare, but they're creatable. Human beings are born with a blank slate. They're born with a hardware, but no operating system. We install the operating system. That's what creates a full human being. So we can instill purpose in our people. It may take time, but that understanding of purpose and significance and meaning is absolutely vital for your people. And mastery involves the skills. It's the abilities to manage people, manage themselves, and obviously the nuts and bolts of whatever their specific job is. So purpose and mastery are the two things that you're looking at generating successful, autonomous, self-initiated leaders. And it's one of the highest things you can do in the world. And I'm sharing the covers of these two books. These are the two books that are my last two books, and they address this larger topic. Team to Tribe is 52 chapters, which correspond to the 52 weeks of a year, because it takes about 30 days to create a new practice that sticks. Creates 90 days of regular work to create a ritual, and it takes up to a year for culture. So when in the last 50 minutes I walked through culture creation, this is a persistence hunt. This is going to take you a solid year to get all of your rituals and all of your practices and all of your good intentions into tradition. Traditions are what hold cultures together. So Team to Tribe is the human version of that. The 4 wolf wisdoms, these are the lessons that I learned working the last 10 years out at Apex Protection Project. And this is the wolf version. And it's got better pictures in it. So if you're looking at a roadmap to be able to do this with your teams, these 2 books are central for that. And we have a PDF for you. This is a beautiful printable field guide checklist to be able to manage your projects, whether it be a strategic plan or running an effective meeting. And it's going to come down to 4 things. And I'd like you to write these 4 things down. It's another way of remembering these big cultural themes. Okay. The first thing that you have to make sure that everybody has, whether it's a project or a meeting, they need to understand the purpose. Why are we having this meeting? Why are we doing this project? And if you can't clearly answer that question, then you need to go back and do some work. So that's that vision, values, legacy, impact. Okay, so purpose is number 1. The second one is people. These all start with P's, 4 P's. Your people. Do they have a sense of belonging in the project? Is it clearly delegated? Do they understand their role? Are you addressing any of the trauma signs that people have and they express when they're under pressure and stress? Fight, flight, freeze, appease. You're going to see people run from responsibilities. People fight within. They're biting each other. They will have paralysis of analysis. They will appease and just make nice and say the nice thing at the moment, and then have resentments and sabotage otherwise. So fight, flight, freeze, appease. If your people are demonstrating any of that, then you have some resiliency work and some belonging work to do with your people. The third P is performance. This is that third level. Is there accountability? Is there the ability to engage with healthy conflict? Setbacks, failures, innovation, critical decision making. These are all performance related things. A clear timeline, accountability on that timeline. Those are all very important components. So we need to have performance. And the last one is going to be your process. Process is your plan, your procedure, your communication cadence and platform. It's the infrastructure of how these things happen. So we have purpose, people, performance, and process. And so on this PDF, there's a little checklist. And if there's anything you leave with today, uh, please download that and print it out and put it on your computer, because it will significantly improve the psychological and success outcomes of all the things you do in the future. And in closing, this is a QR code that is a link to a bunch of resources for you. And those resources, there'll be links to the books on there. There's an invitation to a leadership community on the school platform, which you're all invited to join. And there's also a way to get in contact with me if you want to do any executive coaching, any culture development work with either remotely or on-site, off-site work. And one of my favorite programs is obviously taking work teams out to the Wolf Sanctuary transformational event. And we also do ropes courses and a lot of executive planning work with teams. So please take a little snapshot of that QR code, and just massive blessings to you and happy hunting on all your journeys. And I'm going to stay on for some Q&A.
I'm off. Thank you very much, Philip.
You're welcome, Neil. So good to see you.
Cheers.
Nice to have
Everyone,
somebody from the other side of the planet.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Emil. We never got to see Roland, did we? Doug,
Philip,
you got anything new and delicious?
yeah, so timely. I do have to jump. Oddly enough, I've got a call with somebody in LA, an architect, but I just wanted to say, excellent seeing you. And I don't know who's on this call. I just saw it show up on my feed. So, and I love following you on LinkedIn and staying in touch, but it looks like things have kind of moved along. So I definitely want to follow up more and just see how I can kind of get back into the groove on the leadership aspect. So really quickly, I'll just let the group know. I met Philip about, geez, probably almost 5 years ago now. And I went through a different program with him, but that program allowed me to dive back in. I should actually be enjoying retirement with all my buddies, but they're golfing. I should be golfing right now, but I'm not. And Philip, you
Stay on the field, Doug. Stay on the field. We need you.
Bingo. And so what I did was I started a company, and that's branched off into, now I've built a consortium, and we focus on housing. And so we're building that rapidly. But anyway, I can't thank you enough, Philip, for just putting that into a frame. And all I can say is if you follow this, it works. So I'll leave it with that. But anyway, good seeing you. Good seeing you, Tanya.
All right.
And I will connect. Yeah.
Okay. Love you, Doug.
Okay. Say ciao.
Ciao, Bella. All right. Antonio, you got any wrap up for us?
No, just if anybody has questions, and my question would be how have you applied this? I know we mentioned like SpaceX and some companies, but how did this apply for their teams, like when you implemented it?
I work with a lot of aerospace companies, and they, as brilliant as they are, they have cultural issues, and it's usually department based. That's a big one. they have, the engineers, which have their own very unique culture. And then they have, all the other different functions of big companies. And the commonality, that big shared vision across all of the departments is the big challenge at it when you're dealing with something of that scope and that scale. There needs to be something unifying that holds that together. So that was a lot of the work I've done with the aerospace people. Is anytime they have to merge two departments together, it's usually just a grinding disaster of behavior stuff. So having leadership come in and share something cohesive around vision and values and missions is one of the big solutions for them.
So
one of the big ones for, and I shared this story with SpaceX, but it was so transformational for me. We were talking about shared visions in one of their big boardrooms at SpaceX, and they had these two beautiful bas relief globes, which means that they're kind of they're shaped. They're not flat. They have like valleys and stuff on them. And one of them is this cracked red, it's Mars. And the other one is this beautiful blue-green planet, like Earth. And the head of the engineering department, we were talking about shared vision. He pointed to those maps that were behind him. He goes, "That's our vision." And I was like, "Yeah, we're going to Mars. That's awesome." And he goes, "No, you look at the maps again." And I looked at him, and the blue-green Earth planet was not Earth. It was a terraformed Mars. And I was like, "Oh, that was the aspirational scope and scale, is that SpaceX is not going to Mars. They're going to go get us Mars." And that explains why they are what they are.
amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I should look at the chats. Did anybody ask any questions? Da-da-da-da-da. All right. Well, good. The PDF is in the chat, everyone. And it's good to see you all. Thank you for spending an hour with me.